What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rugged Adventures. Today is a bad day to be a brand new AR-15 in my hands. That sand is going right in Kentucky clay mud, and let's just put it right. And that's what we have right here. This is a PSA 16-inch M-LOK handguard AR-15. It's a blim model. I have no idea what the actual blim is on this. A lot of folks that get these say that they cannot find what is blemished on the thing, and neither can I. But today, we're going to be running this thing through its paces. We are going to be just testing out the PSA AR-15, see how durable it is, and really the AR-15 platform altogether. On the other hand, we have already done this with this AK-47 or AKM, if as many folks like to point out. And this is the most durable gun in the world. It's the never jams, no matter what you do to it. At least that's what folks on the internet say. We had a lot of problems with this when we put it in the sand and the mud, and as a matter of fact, it got so jammed up with mud in the extractor in the bolt here that it was not able to seat back onto the round and was not able to grasp that, and so the bolt wouldn't lock and we could not fire it. And I've actually seen this in real life with a real life person using one of these in combat, trying to push this thing closed so hard, kicking it with his foot, and could not get that to close, which is a really bad thing. But the AR-15 M16 does have a super kind of bad reputation from the very first models that they put out into the Vietnam War, where they pretty much ignored everything that Eugene Stoner had said about this and used powder that was much too hot. The barrels in the chambers were not chrome lined, and they really weren't treated, so they were rusting up and getting corroded. And they didn't even equip these with cleaning kits that even an AK-47 has, with a cleaning rod and a cleaning kit here in the buttstock. So today we are going to see how the AR-15 does compare to the AK-47. We're going to use some clips from back in that video, and I'll link that down in the comments or the description. But first off, let's just get an idea of if this thing runs, because I had actually never fired this gun. I just got it, and I think it was like $500. Shipped to my FFL, everything all included. There's no sights in here because we're not testing sights today. We are not looking for how accurate this thing is, just if it works or does not work. And if it does work very well, we'll turn this into kind of a poverty stick build with a SIG Romeo Juliet red dot magnifier and whatever other things we want to do, maybe paint it up. But let's see if it fires at all, and then we'll get on with the test. So let's see if I can hit anything with no sights whatsoever. Ah, we got one, and it seems to work just fine. And so we're going to find out what the blim is on this, or if we can't figure it out, we will make our own blims just like this. So that is not a huge fall, but it's probably a solid 10, 15 feet all the way down to here. And it's something that I would think that a, regular duty gun would have to endure. And so, we just got some dirt on things. I don't know if it ended up hitting the barrel up here, but from what I've seen so far, it functions just fine. There's no bend to that. This still functions fine if I can get it to go with holding the camera and the gun at the same time. But what if we had some other type of situation where maybe we're running along, and as we're running, we drop it down there in the rocks, maybe once, maybe some more rocks over here. Does that do anything to it? Obviously scuffs it up. We got some scuffs going on there. But now we're gonna go find some cover in this woodshed. We come up and we get here behind some cover. Will the rifle still work? Are we going to be able to put it up here and, make it operate? Did the charging handle break? Everything seems to be just fine with it so far from dropping it. See, buttstock works just fine. Let's see if like I said, we cycled it. Looks good. Looking down the rifle, still looks to be relatively square. Does the trigger still work? It certainly does. Let's see about the safety. Safety works. The only thing that I would have to try still, the bolt hold open. Looks as if it works just fine. But let's see if it fires or if we did any real damage to it. So other than some cosmetic things, we beat the front of the barrel up a little bit. We got some scuffs on the handguard. We got some dirt in there, like you want to see when you actually use a rifle and not just leave it on the shelf. The charging handle got a little scuffed up, but nothing really of any significance. And the AK did just as well. This one endured the same tests, and there's really no permanent damage. People, you know, cringe when you do these type of tests, but getting these things dropped and beat up, that is really what they're made for. Even though they come pretty out of the package, they are, you know, they're made to be used. So, but here's the moment of truth. Does it still function? And the only thing that we're going to do in all these tests is just make sure that the barrel is clear. If there's some sand residue, if there's some mud residue in there, that's okay. But I do want to make sure it's clear so that I don't get, you know, an AR-15 blowing up in my face. So, loads just fine. Let's give it like, see if it can do a quick 3 relatively rapidly. No problem. So, drop test, rocks, throwing it off of a ledge, into the wood, under cover. Pass, very much. So next up is our sand test. And this is the first place where we had a little bit of the AK lore kind of fall apart, where they said that you could, you know, pick this up off the ground in a desert, in the jungle, and it would run just fine. Oh, it doesn't care. Look at all that sand. Look at that sand cloud that came out of it. Did not lock. Did not lock forward though. Try it again. Again, didn't lock forward. You can just bash it forward and it goes. Same again and again and again. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that spent a lot of time in various sandboxes knowing how sand affects the guns. And what we did with that is we made it in a made-ready condition, and then we put the safety on, which would be equivalent to this dust cover, because that safety on that AK-47 comes up, covers the action, and sort of acts as a dust cover. So we're going to do the same thing here, and then we'll try it without the dust cover on and see what happens. With the AK, the first round would go, and then it wouldn't seep back into the battery because, you know, it gets sand in there, and I can definitely see that happening on this one, but we'll see. So let's just kind of get right to it. So we're going to make this thing ready to fire. We're going to put it on safe, and we're going to close the dust cover for the first test that we have here. And when we put that down here, we'll take our sand, and, you know, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, the sand. And we're just going to cover this thing in sand. Both sides of it. Now, obviously, that's going to, you know, some of that's going to fall off, but that's reasonable. And so we have sand all over the gun, and we will pick it up, shake it out so that we don't have sand in the barrel. We're going to put it on fire, and there's no crunchiness to that just yet. And we'll give it, we'll see if it can give us 3 in a row. And you guys will probably be able to see a big sand plume come off of this thing. So no problems. Repeated fire. That was 3. We'll give it, let's give it 2 more. And it works flawlessly. So let's go ahead and put it back onto safe. Obviously you guys can see that the dust cover is open. We're going to do the same thing, except this time that sand is going right into the action there, into the chamber. And it is completely filled with sand, as you all can see. And we'll go ahead and do the same on the other side, like we did with the first part of the test. Bring it up. It's obviously, you know, looks like crap. Make sure that it's out of the barrel, and we will see if we can get 3 more shots. Again, the safety was still not crunchy like it was with the AK-47, and we will give this a shot. And I want to get a shot of the action here too, if we can. 3 rounds. And right there we had our first failure. And there's a failure for it to seat in the chamber. So we'll pull this out, put this in safe. We'll just run this a couple times. Mag's back in it. Forward assist. And it's still not able to seat. So once again, mag out. And now we're getting some really big hang up here. To the point where I think I'm going to have to bounce it on the ground to get that round out. Cycle it a few more times. Mag back in. Looks to be seated. Let's see if we can get 3 in a row. Put it back on fire. And once again, did not seat completely. Can't get the forward assist to, and it didn't, I don't even think it ran all the way back because we are not able to move the safety. One round in there again. And so, well, there's 3. That one didn't seat all the way. I imagine it didn't run all the way back. Got one seated in there again. And now we are back into a ready to fire condition. So probably about the same as it was with that AK-47 as far as sand. Sand is a not fun thing to get in guns, and but this one was able to resume firing just like the AK was after, you know, 6 or 7 rounds going through it. So we're going to do a hillbilly field cleaning on this, just like we did with the AK, the PSA Dagger, and the Rock Island 1911 that we did torture test videos on as well. But the thing that I want to show you guys first is that this has no sand in it, if it focuses on that. The magazine itself, I mean, it might have a couple grains in there, has no sand in it. When I broke this apart, which I can't show you on YouTube or else they'll say it's, you know, manufacturing firearms or something like that, this has no sand in the trigger group here for the most part. There's a couple grains obviously, but the AK was completely filled with sand in all of the trigger group. And I mean, you can see when I rotate the safety here, it still clicks very nicely. It is not gritty whatsoever. And so we'll go ahead and clear this thing, make sure it's clear, and I'll show you guys how in Kentucky you can clean a gun very easily. You put it in the water like this, and then we're just going to run it a few times, and that's really going to be all. We'll try to get all the sand off of it like that. And I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that are absolutely cringing right now about what we're doing. But if something's going to be durable and you're going to rely on it, this should probably really be the minimum that you would expect out of it. All I'm going to do is just let the water drain out like I think any reasonable person would do. And we're shooting 55 grain cheap steel ammo today. See if it charges. It did not. So that's not the greatest thing in the world. There we go. Now it's seated. There was a round that got stripped off the mag on that one. Let's see if it works. So it did work. Did not cycle enough. I bet you it's not going all the way back. Again, is it not going all the way back? Yep, it is not fully coming back because there's so much crap in the chamber. And it's not having enough velocity coming forward. And even using the forward assist, see if that got it fully seated. And so we weren't able to clean it out enough for it to run. And right now it is not cycling at all. So it looks like the issue that we're having with this is it doesn't have enough forward motion to carry the bolt all the way through with stripping around off the magazine and everything else that it needs to do in order to load the next round. And what I found with this particular AR-15, again, this is a PSA blim, so this is a very low dollar rifle, is as this is coming forward, it hangs like right there. And I've actually got it to just stop at one point and hold. And I found that that was like that brand new out of the box. You can see how if you're watching real close, there it goes, and it's just hold right there. And so I don't know if there's some sort of machining issue because, you know, a lot of people say there are some QC problems with PSA, but that seems to be where we are holding up, and I'm sure that the sand and all that has only made it worse. So what we're going to do is do some lubrication. Is this the right gun lubricant? No. Is it what I have in my truck? Yes. And so we're just going to lube this thing up as best we can to get on to the next test. And this may be what you would have to do in the field with this gun. Now, does this make it any better or worse than the AK-47? I don't know. The AK-47 obviously did better after the sand than this did. We'll see if this does better after the mud, because mud made the AK completely inoperable, even with soaking it down with WD-40, because the extractor was so jammed up with goo that it would not latch on to the next round. After soaking it down with WD-40, let's see if it runs any better than it did. And as they say, a little bit of lube goes a long way. So let's get this GoPro rolling here, and we're going to try this in the mud. This was the AK-47's Kryptonite, which I'm glad it's not. Let's see. It's just, it's got too much crap in it. So this is obviously ready to fire, as we just did. We put it on safe with the dust cover closed, and we are just going to toss it into this mud pit here. This is the only one that we have right now because the ground is so dry, and we've had such dry weather that that's all we have. So we bring it up here, make sure that the barrel is clear. It looks like there's a little bit of crap in the muzzle device there, but nothing else. We will flip this thing. We'll make sure that it's as empty of water as we can get, put it on fire, and see if it will run. 2 shots, no big deal. So now we put it back on safe. The dust cover is open, and this is, again, I think the test that really just sealed the deal for the AK-47. I think after the first test, and I'll have to look at the video that we took of that, with the safety on, with essentially the dust cover for the AK closed, it didn't get anything in it. We'll see about with it open with this AR-15 in the mud. Drop it in there, let it fill with water, just like we did the AK-47. It's still bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. The mag's still bubbling a little bit. We will bring it out. It looks like that is clear. It is, you know, covered in mud as it is now. Make sure that there is no water in it, best as we can tell. Flip it to fire. Let's see if it actually works or not. No problems whatsoever with it being open or closed. Let's get a little bit more kind of nasty with it. We have it on safe. Let's get a handful of this mud here, this nasty Kentucky clay mud, and let's just put it right there on the action. As you can see, not too terribly clean. Probably isn't what you would want for your rifle. Let's put our finger on the trigger here. We'll flip it to fire, which is still very not gritty or anything. Let's see if it runs with the bolt filled with mud like that. And we'll try not to splash the camera here if it goes. Went once, twice, no problems with mud. And one thing that I want you guys to take a look at, we're going to take this mag out. We're going to make this thing safe if we can, is the holes in this thing, if it focuses on that. These are the gas holes. That's where the gas comes out. A lot of times when people talk about AR-15s versus AK-47s, you'll hear a lot about how the gas goes into the chamber and goes into the action, puts a lot of carbon and, you know, nastiness into the chamber here, gums things up. You have to clean it out, which was a big problem when they went to war initially in Vietnam. And they didn't have any cleaning kits. But every time you shoot, the gas goes in the gas block, through the gas tube, into here, and blows out whatever is in here. And I'm sure that there are some leaks and such that enable it to sort of clear out some of the stuff that's in the chamber. And that is, in my opinion, sort of a benefit versus the piston-driven AK that has all the gas up here. And so there's nothing coming in here to really blow things out. And I know that can kind of be a negative or a positive, depending on which way you want to look at it, as far as, you know, carbon versus blowing stuff out. And granted, I would assume everyone that's trained on this for combat reasons has been told not to get your gun like this. But since we've been cycling like this, getting that mud all nice and nasty up in there, let's see if it will fire. Now, if I can get my hearing protection on without getting it just absolutely slathered in mud. Let's see here. Get that. Still, inside of the magazine, other than being wet, is pretty darn clean. Pop that in there. I don't know if this is going to work at all. Oh, that was not good. It comes back. Did it seat? I don't think it did. I don't know if we have anything to hit this on, but we'll see if it's seated. It did not. I don't even think it ripped one off the magazine. Or no, there is one in there in the chamber. It never seated. Let me pull this mag down, see if we can. There it goes. It seated that time. On fire. Let's give it a shot. And that is the end of the mag. It didn't hold back completely, I assume because there's so much friction in there right now, but you could pull it all the way back. I'm sorry, it's not the end of the mag. There's one more in there. And then it did hold back, but not completely. The bolt is not all the way back, but it was running, and it did survive the mud test without needing to be completely disassembled. And so right there, guys, that is AK versus AR-15, a torture test of the PSA AR-15. And the one thing I can say is that when we did the AK, that AK that we had about probably at least 1,000 rounds through it. This has had none, so there was really no break-in time, and I don't know if that would have made any difference with the way that this was kind of hanging up there before. Actually, the mud there seems to have sort of provided a bit of lubrication. So guys, if you like this, be sure to hit the like button down below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Tell me what you think. I'm sure the AK guys are going to tell me that this was flawed. The AR guys are going to be super happy. We did use lubrication to get this thing running again after the sand and water washout. So this did not do really as well in the sand as the AK did, but afterwards it did do much better in the mud test, considering that we were able to make this thing functional, and it did function pretty well. And the AK was completely unfunctional until we got it back to the house and was able to detail clean it. Dropping it and such like that, that's not really that big a deal. Any gun should be capable of that. Shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to drop these things nearly anywhere that you want to. I appreciate you coming out here to the farm with me, and I'll see you in the next one.